Welcome to all. So in this session we will see the concept of inheritance. Okay, so the same concept where you are trying to inherit the properties of your parent class to child class. The same concept will continue in Java also, but how can you implement this particular thing using the Java syntax, we will see. Okay, to inherit a class you simply incorporate the definition of the one class into another by using extends keyword. So in C++ you had something like scope resolution operator and all, isn't it? So you were inheriting the concept using, or you are using colon also to extend or to inherit the one class from another class. But in Java you should be using one keyword, that is nothing but extends. Okay, you should be using that extends keyword in Java. The following program creates a superclass called A and the subclass called B. So now how exactly you can do it, we will see inside the code. Okay, so you can concentrate on this particular code, the left hand side. Okay, you have class A. Inside the class you have two variables, int I comma j. Next after that you have one main method show ij. Okay, so void show ij. So inside the show ij method, what you have one system.out.println. So just to print the values of I and j. Now when you come to the next part, you can see how exactly you can inherit the properties of A using B. So how exactly you can write? You are writing class B extends A. That means now class B has the access or the permission to access the properties of class A. Now say inside the class B you have one variable int k. Now you have one more method with the name show k. Okay, void show k. Now inside the void show k method you have one print statement, so to print the values of k. Next after that you have one more method called sum. Inside the class B you have one more method called sum, so where you are printing the sum of I, j and k. Now you have to remember one thing here, in class B you don't have the variable, or you don't have the you did not actually declare the variable called I and j. So this I and j is present in the parent class, isn't it? So it is available in class A, not in class B. But when class B extends class A, or it extends the properties of class A, then this class B has the access or the permission to access I, j also. Okay, now this is the concept of inheritance. So in the right hand side, see, you can see you have one class name called simple inheritance. Inside that class you have main method. Inside the main method you are creating one object for class A with the name super ob. Okay, it is a super class object or parent class or top class object. Okay, so equal to new of A, that you have successfully created now the object for class A. Now for class B also you are going to create the object with the name subclass or sub ob or sub object. Okay, now using super object you are trying to access the variable I and you are assigning 10 to it. Okay, now using the super object itself, the object which is created for class A, using that you are accessing j variable and you are assigning 20 to j. Now what you are going to do, you are now printing one statement called contents of super object. Okay, now how to show that the values? Just using super ob dot show ij method. Where is this show ij is residing? This show ij method is residing inside class A, isn't it? You can see in the left hand side you can see class A. So I just, for your simplicity purpose, I just divided the entire screen in two parts, and I put class concept in the left hand side and the main method in the right hand side. So instead of going for two separate slides, it is better to put, if the program is large, it is better to put the code in a simple single slide itself. That is the reason why I just partitioned it. Now using that object of class A, you are calling show ij method. No, I already said as super ob, that object is holding the value of I and j 10 and 20. Implicitly that 10 and 20 will be passed to show ij method. Okay, now show ij method will print I and j value. Now after that the control will again come back to the main method, and you are going to go for system.println. So one new line you are going to print. Then after that, using the object of second class or class B object, isn't it? Sub OB is nothing but object of class B. Okay, now you are again accessing I, J and K. Now you have to remember here, using the object of class B, you are trying to access the variable which is residing in class A, and you are assigning the values 7, 8 and 9. Now you have to remember, as you have created a separate object for class B, now a separate copy of IJ also will be created, because this B extends class A, isn't it? The properties of class A will be extended by B. So separate memory location will be available for INJ of object, INJ for object B. That is nothing but sub OB. No, so that is the reason why you are assigning 7, 8 and 9 to IJK using second object. Now what you are going to do, you are going to print contents of sub OB, and you are calling show IJ method using object of class B. Now it is possible, because show IJ method is residing inside class A, but you will be able to call the show IJ method which is residing in the class A using object of class B, because class B extends class A, or class B inherits all the properties of class A. So that is the reason why you will be able to call show IJ method using second object or class B's object. Now using the same object, you are going to call show K method which is available in class B. So it is not a problem. So calling show K method is not a problem, because you have created the object for class B. But the new thing is, using the object of class B, you are accessing the method which is present in class A, because of that inheritance concept. Okay, this is the difference. Okay, now system.out.println. So you are going to print the sum of I, J, K would be the exact value of that value, or whatever the value you are going to get from show I, J and show K. Whatever the value you assigned, that value will be added up. Okay, this is how you can do it. Now sub ob dot sum method you are calling using second object you are calling. So the answer will be 7 plus 8 plus 9, isn't it? You are going to print 7 plus 8 plus 9. This is how it works. Okay, this is how the inheritance concept works. Okay, now the next thing is, pardon me, the next thing is, just a moment. Okay, the subclass B includes all the members of its superclass A. This is why sub OB can access IJ and call show IJ method. Also inside sum method, IJ can be referred to directly as if they were part of B. So that is the explanation I have just given, but they have given some in standard statement. So ultimately, because of that extends keyword, you will be able to inherit the properties of parent class to subclass or child class. Okay, now member access and inheritance. So here accessibility also plays a major role. That is nothing but private, public and protected, followed by your default access specifier also. So you should be very clear with the access specifiers, otherwise it will be very difficult for you to understand the concept of inheritance as well. Okay, now although the subclass includes all the members of its superclass, it cannot access those members of superclass that have been declared as private. So this is the special case, because in the previous video only I said, whenever you have private keyword, the variable or method can be accessed only within that class. It cannot be accessed outside the class, even though you are extending or even though you are inheriting the properties of a particular class. You cannot access private members of a class. Okay, now you can see the example here. So you have class A, inside that you have int I, which is public. By default it will be public. Now you have private int J, so it is a private to A. So that means only the J can be accessed only within class A, not from outside. Okay, now you have one method called set ij. So int x comma int y, it is taking two parameters of type integer. Now inside that method you are assigning x value to I and y value to j. Now it is possible because you are accessing j inside the class itself, not from the outside. So how to extend it, the thing? Now class B extends A. That means now you have one more class with the name B, which has the capacity to access the members of class A. Now you have one variable called int total. Now you have one more method called sum, void sum. Inside the void sum, what you are going to do? Total equal to I plus j. You are doing I plus j. Now here I is accessible because why I is accessible? Because I is public. By default it is a public one. They did not specify any access specifier, so they just gone for int I. So in this from class B, from sum method, I is accessible but not j, because j is a private member, isn't it? So you have one more class called class access. You have main method. Inside the main method you are creating the object for B, class B, and you are using that object. You are passing value 10 and 12 to set ij. So this set ij is present inside class A. So int x will have 10 and int y will have the value 20, because you are 12. You are because you are passing 10 comma 12, isn't it, to as a parameter to set ij method, which is present inside the class A. Now after that, using the same object or the object of class B, you are calling some method, but obviously you are going to get the error. Okay, the total program will throw an error because j is not accessible. It is not possible to access j because of that private access specifier. Okay, so this is the difference. I request you to execute this program as well. So these programs are executable. Okay, you can execute it. Now you have one more concept called constructor and inheritance. So how exactly you can deal with the constructor using inheritance, we will see one by one. So you can concentrate on left hand side. You have class box. Inside the class box you have three variables, isn't it, of type double: width, height and depth. Now you have one constructor which will take the reference of that same class. Okay, so box ob. So box is the class name. Inside the parameter, inside that brackets, you have again box ob. That means object. You can pass the object, isn't it? Pass object to constructor, isn't it? You can pass the object reference. Okay, now width equal to ob dot width. That is nothing but whatever the things you are passing from the main method. The same value will be sit in width variable, and height equal to ob dot height and depth equal to ob dot depth. Okay, so that means whatever the value you pass from your main method, that object you are going to pass, the same value will sit in width, height and depth. Now you have the concept of constructor used when all dimensions specified. How exactly you can use the constructor when the dimensions are specified? So obviously this constructor will take the parameters w, h and d. The same w, h and d will be assigned to where? Width, height and depth. Okay, this is how you can do it. And you have one more default constructor here, box, which will not take any parameters. By default you are assigning -1 to everything. So width, height and depth you are assigning -1. So it is a instance of it is a starting point for the width, height and depth. So by default the values of width, height and depth will be -1 whenever you create the object to a class box. Okay, now you have one more constructor, box double length. So this will take one parameter of type double, and you are assigning width, height and depth equal to length. When the constructor with the one parameter is called or created, this value will be assigned to width, height and depth. Now you have one method called double. You can go for the right hand side. Now I am talking about right hand side. So double volume. So you have one method called volume which has the return type double. So obviously width into height into depth will be returned to the calling method. So obviously the calling method will be inside the main method. Now you can concentrate on extending the things. See here, class box weight extends box. So now what you are going to do, you are extending or you are inheriting the properties of class box. Now you have one variable double weight. Okay, weight of box. So this is weight of box. Now constructor of box weight. Now see here, box weight will take how many parameters? 4 parameters, w, h, d and m. Okay, now this constructor of box weight will take How much parameters? 4 parameters. So that is nothing but width. W will be assigned to width, H will be assigned to height, and D will be assigned to depth, and M will be assigned to weight. Okay, from where you got weight? So weight is a variable which is declared inside the second class, that is nothing but box weight class. Fine. Now how exactly we can implement this program, we will see inside the main method. So you have one class called demo box weight. Inside the class you have one main method. Inside the main method you are creating the object for box weight, that is nothing but second class, isn't it? Box weight. So two objects are being created, my box 1 and my box 2. Now in the my box 1 will pass 4 parameters to that class, box weight class. What are the values? 10, 20, 15 and 34.5. So 10 will sit in W, 20 will sit in H, 15 will sit in D, and 34.3 will sit in M. The same value will be assigned to width, height, depth and weight. In the top you can see the assignment, isn't it? Width, height, depth and weight, the same value will sit there. Now using my box 2 or second object, what are the values you are passing? You are passing 2, 3, 4, 0.076. So the same thing. So for my box 2, separate set of variables will be there, height, width, depth and weight. Separate set of copy of variable memory will be allocated, because I already said how many number of object you create for a particular class, that many copies of memory will be allocated, isn't it? So now separate fresh copy of width, fresh place for height, fresh space for depth and fresh space for weight will be available. So in that space you are going to assign 2, 3, 4 and 0.076. Okay, now you have one more variable called volume. So now what you are going to do, volume equal to mybox1 dot volume method. Now what mybox1 will have? mybox1 will have, implicitly it is going to hold the values of 10, 20, 15 and 34.3. Now using that you are calling volume method. Now what volume method will do? Where is volume method? Just a moment. You have volume method here. So in the right hand side you can see volume method. So this volume method will return width into height into depth. Okay, so the same value will come and sit in in the volume variable, VOL variable. The same VOL variable will be printed in the next line, system.out.println volume of my box 1 is VOL. So that VOL will have the value of 10 into 20 into 15, isn't it? So it will have the value 10 into 20 into 15, that is nothing but 3000. Correct? Now system.out.println weight of the my box 1. Now what you are doing here, you are changing here my box 1 dot weight. So using the object, first object, you are accessing the weight. Now what is the weight? 34.3. Isn't it? Why? Because using my box 1 object or first object, you are trying to access the weight which is available inside the class box weight. Now what is the next thing? You are going to get the println new line, system.out.println. Next after that again VOL equal to mybox2.volume method. Now what mybox2 will hold? It is holding 2, 3, 4 and 0.076, isn't it? Out of which you are going to get the value 2 into 3 into 4. Volume method will return 2 into 3 into 4. Why? Because you have written width into height into depth. You have to return width into height into depth according to this particular code. Fine. Now after that what you are going to do? You are using again system.out.println and you are trying to print the value of weight, that is nothing but 0.076, because my box 2 will hold the weight value as 0.076. So this is how you can go for constructor as well as inheritance. Because here you are inheriting the properties of class box to the box weight, isn't it? So this is how you can work on constructor. Okay, so inheritance as well as constructor concept. So it is combined. This program will combine both the things. Fine. So I request you to execute this program. If you have any doubt or if you get any error, get back to me. Fine. Now you have one more concept called super. How to use super. Okay, whenever a subclass needs to refer to its immediate superclass, it can do so by using the keyword super. Now what is the thing? If you want to refer the immediate superclass, something like, say for example, class A, you have top class, in the root class is class A. Now class B extends A. Now again class C extends B. Now you have three classes, isn't it? You have class A, class B, class C, where class B extends the properties of class A and class C extends the properties of class B. If that is the case, if you want to access the properties of class B from C, then you require super keyword. This is what we say immediate superclass. It is not the root class. Immediate superclass means just above the referring class. Okay, now super has two general forms. Okay, the first calls the superclasses constructor. The second is used to access the member of the superclass that has been hidden by the member of a subclass. So each uses the each use is examined here. So that is with respect to the example. But the thing is, you have two general forms. The first one is it will call the superclass constructor. Okay. The second thing is member of a subclass. So you can call you can access the member of superclass which is hidden by the member of a subclass. So in the subclass, whatever the members are hidden, that can be accessed from the superclass. So this is using super keyword. So how exactly you can do that, we will see here. Using super to call superclass constructor. Now how you can use the super keyword to call the superclasses constructor. Now how can we do that? We will see here. A subclass can call a constructor method defined by its superclass by the use of following form. So super of parameter list. So whenever you use super of parameter list, you are going to call the constructor of immediate superclass. Okay, with the code you will get the better idea. In the theory you may get confused, but whenever you use super keyword, you are going to call the constructor of immediate superclass. Okay, now here the parameter list specifies any parameters needed by the constructor in the superclass. Super method that you must always be the first statement executed inside the subclass constructor. Okay, now we will see how exactly in the code how exactly we can implement this. Now in the left hand side you can see you have class box. Inside the class box you have three variables with the access specifier private. That means you can access width, height and depth only within the box class. Okay, not from the outside. Okay, now you have one constructor box and box ob. Okay, now after that what you are going to do, you are going to use the method. Okay, now here see with the reference ob, you are assigning ob dot width to width variable, ob dot height to height variable, ob dot depth to depth variable. So width, height and depth can be accessible only within class box. Okay, not from the outside box, because these are the private variables, isn't it? Now after that you have one more constructor which is taking three parameters w, h and d. Now same w, h and d will be assigned to width, height and depth. You have one more default constructor which will assign -1 to height, width and depth. Now in the right hand side you have again one more constructor. Then how many number of constructors you have in this program? There are 4 number of constructors in the inside class box. Okay, now how exactly you can access box of double length? So that means this constructor will take one parameter. So width, height and depth will be assigned with the same value which is having length. In the length, whatever the value you have, the same value will be assigned to width, height and depth. Now you have one method called volume. The return type is double. That means it will return width into height into depth. Whatever the value you have for width, height and depth, the same value will be returned to the calling method. Now you have one more class called box weight. It is extending box, so this will extend the properties of superclass or box class. Now you have one variable, variable called weight of type double. Now you have one constructor box weight, so this will take the object reference of box weight. Now inside that you can see you are calling the constructor of superclass super ob, you are passing super ob. By default what happens here, you are accessing the constructor of class box. Now when you are passing ob is nothing but an object. Definitely which constructor will be invoked? The first constructor will be invoked, box of box ob, whatever the constructor you have which will take the object, that constructor will be invoked, because you are sending super ob, you are doing super ob is nothing but object. If you would have sent super 7, so definitely last constructor will be called box double len, that will be called. Why? Because 7 is an integer or double, or definitely you can, if you want double, okay, you can consider it as a double data type, isn't it? That constructor will be called. So what type of data you are passing to a particular constructor with the usage of super keyword, that constructor will be called from superclass. Fine. Now what you are doing the next, so weight equal to ob dot weight. So whatever the value you have from your ob reference variable, that variable will sit in weight variable. So weight variable of class box weight. Fine. Now after that what happens, you have one more constructor which is taking 4 parameters w, h, d and m. The same w, h, d, m will be assigned to okay, here little bit change, it is not assigned. So you are calling again, you are calling super keyword. Now you are passing w, h and d. Which constructor will be invoked? The second constructor of class box will be invoked. Why? You have 3 double values, isn't it? w, h, d, 3 parameters. So 3 parameter constructor will be called, that is nothing but box of double w, double h, double d, that constructor will be called, and you are assigning the same value to width, height and depth. Now after that you are using weight equal to m. Now whatever the m value is there now, that will be assigned to weight variable. Now you have one more constructor, default constructor, which will call super. You just inside that you are calling super, which is constructor will be called default constructor of class box will be called. That is nothing but you are assigning width equal to -1, height equal to -1, depth equal to -1. Because in the super you are not passing any parameter, you are not passing anything, you are just calling super method, method. So by default the constructor of immediate super class will be called. Now height equal to -1, you are assigning height equal to -1. Now you have one more constructor which is taking 2 parameters, length and m, double l length equal to comma double m. Now what you are going to do here, you are using super len. Which constructor will be called? Last constructor of class box will be called. Why? Because you are passing one double value, so obviously the last constructor, because box of double length, isn't it, that constructor will be called. Now and after that you are assigning m to weight variable. Fine. This is how you can use super keyword. Instead of how exactly you can pass the value to your immediate superclass, using super keyword you can pass the value to the constructor of superclass. Okay, now you have a main method. So this is the main method, class demo super. So inside the class demo super, what you are going to do, you have one main method. Inside the main method you are creating how many objects? You are creating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 object for box weight. So first object is my box 1, second object is my box 2, third object is my box 3, fourth object is my cube, and fifth object is my clone. Okay, now first object, what happens? The first, using first object you are assigning the value for w, h, d, m 10, 20, 15 and 34.3. Using second object you are assigning 2, 3, 4 and 0.076. And third object is default. You are just using, you are not doing anything, you are just calling the default constructor. So default constructor means height, width and depth will be assigned to -1, isn't it? In the previous slide, you can check the previous slide. The default constructor will just assign the value -1 to all the variables. Now my cube will have two variables, 3 and 2. Obviously that constructor with the value 2 value, so that is nothing but box weight of double len comma double m. In the previous slide you would have seen that will be invoked, and you are assigning the value for length and m. Next, my clone, what happens? You are actually passing entire object, my box one object, to my clone variable, my clone object. Now what happens when you pass the entire object? Which constructor will be called? The constructor with the my box weight ob, that will be called. Which is that? So this constructor will be called my box weight of box weight ob. This constructor will be called when you create my clone equal to new of my box of my box weight of my box 1, because my box 1 is an object, that entire object, isn't it? That reference to that object is passed to the class box weight. Fine. After that you have volume, that is a variable of type double. Next, using VOL you are calling my box 1 dot volume, so that by default my box 1 will have the value 10, 20, 50 and 34.3, because that object will hold those values. Now using that values you are printing VOL as well as my box 1 dot weight. That weight is nothing but 34.3. Now then after that what you are going to do, you are going to print a new line. Then after that again VOL equal to my box 2 dot volume. Again my box 2 will have the value 2, 3, 4. So the same thing will be sent to volume method. It will return 2 into 3 into 4. The value will be returned, the same value will be printed using next line system.out.println the volume of my box 2, that VOL, that value will be printed. And what will be the value of my box 2 dot weight? That is nothing but 0.076. After that again you are going for a new line. Next again VOL equal to my box 3 dot volume. Now what my box 3 dot volume will do? It will call the default constructor. It will call the default constructor of box weight. Okay, now what is the default constructor of box weight will do? Default constructor of box weight will call super method. Again super method, what happens? Super method will invoke box default constructor. Now -1 will be assigned to width, -1 will be assigned to height, minus will be assigned to depth, isn't it? So now next -1 will be assigned to weight variable as well. The same thing will be used here also. So volume will have some value and my box 3 will have -1. Fine, this is how it works. Now again new line. Then after that again using VOL you are calling my clone dot volume. Now what my clone will do? My clone will pass the entire object, box weight. That object reference will be passed to my box weight method. So what my box weight will do? So this will my box weight. So here my box weight ob will be having the reference of my box 1. Now what my box 1 will have the value? My box 1 object will have the value 10, 20, 15 and 34.3. The same will be referred by ob object. Okay, or ob reference. Now the same reference will be sent to super keyword. The super keyword will access this particular box ob. Now ob dot width will have value 10, ob dot height will have the value 20 and ob dot depth will have the value 15. Why? Because you are referring now my box 1 object. Using my box 1 object itself you assigned 10, 20 and 15. You can see the my box 1 line, that object, whatever the object you created, like that, my box 1. So there you have 10, 20, 50 and 34. The same value will be sent to my clone. So using that you are displaying my clone thing. So after that you are printing the weight of my clone, and you are getting the new line print ln, and you are going to call my cube dot volume also. Now my cube dot volume, what are the values you are passing? You are passing 3, 2. Okay, the same 3 comma 2 will be sent to the constructor of box weight, which is taking two parameters, that is nothing but double len comma double m. Okay, so that value will be passed to the super constructors, the super class, which is that box of double len. You have box of double len no, constructor, isn't it? That will be invoked, that len will be passed there. Fine, and you are going to, after calculating, you are going to get some value, and you are printing the value of my cube dot weight also. Okay, that is nothing but 2. You are printing 2, you are getting the output 2. So I request, so this is a somewhat large program, isn't it? I request everyone to execute this program and see the difference. Everyone has to execute this program, either using your system or online compiler. Okay, I want everyone to do this. Fine. So this is how it works. Now you have one more concept. The second form of super acts somewhat like this keyword. Okay, so it is it can act like a this keyword itself. Okay, thi, this means the current object which you are referring, isn't it? Okay, except that it always refers to the superclass of subclass in which it is used. So it will be referring to the superclass always. Okay, now the usage is following. You have some general form, that is nothing but super dot member. Okay, if you want to access the member of the superclass, you have to just go for super dot member. So here member can be either method or instance variable. This second form of super is most applicable to situation in which member names of subclass hide members by the same name in a superclass. Okay, if you are hiding the variable of subclass, then this particular thing is applicable. You can see the example. You just see the example, you will get the better idea. Okay, now what happens here? You have class A, and inside the class A you have only one variable with the name I. Now class B extends A, so that means class B will have the access to I variable also. Now inside class B again you have int I, isn't it? It is an ambiguity, isn't it? Because class A also have int I, class B also have int I. Now how exactly program will work on here? Because as class B extends the properties of class A, that means now class B will have the access to I of its own class, or as well as class A, whatever the I present inside the class A. Now in that case, this I hides in I in A. Okay, now here this will hide here I will be hidden the I in A, whatever the I value present or I variable present in A, isn't it? That will be hidden. Now you will see here, see, you have one constructor called B. So int A comma int B, two parameters. Again inside that you have super dot I equal to A. Now which I will be accessed? The I of A will be accessed. Whatever the I present in A, that will be accessed. Why? Because you are using the keyword super. So when you use super, definitely it directly means that you are referring the super classes I, super class the variable I. Now I equal to B means direct. It is a I which is present in your B class. Now remember, when you use super keyword, directly means you are accessing the member of superclass. When you are not using super keyword, that directly means you are referring to the variable of same class, that is nothing but class B. Now you have one method called show, void show, and you are printing the value of super.I as well as I. Now super.I means I variable which is residing in class A. Now just I means the I which is residing in class B. Don't get confused. I am again and again saying, when you use super keyword, that directly means you are referring the variable which is present in super class. That is nothing but class A. Now if you are not using super keyword, that means the I, variable I, which is residing in class B, that is referred. Okay, now you have one class called class use super. Inside that you have one main method. Inside the main method you are creating an object for class B and you are passing two values 1, 2. Using that object you are calling show method. Now definitely it will have the impact here. Now one will sit where? Now one will sit in int a of b constructor of b. Int a will have 1, int b will have 2. Now 1 will be assigned to variable I of class a, and 2 is assigned to variable of I which is of class b, and the same thing will be printed. The 1 and 2 output will be 1 and 2. Like this it will work. I request you to execute this. Okay, see here, see the output. I in superclass is 1, I in subclass is 2. Now, although the instance variable I in B hides the I in A, superclass allows access to the I defined in the superclass, because super keyword you use here, isn't it? That is the reason why you are able to access the variable of class A. Okay, as you will see, super can also be used to call methods that are hidden by the subclass. That means if the method name also same, whatever the method name you have in superclass A, if you have the same method name in class B also, it is possible. You can access the method using super keyword. So this is how you work on super concept. Okay, I request you everyone to execute all the code snippet whatever I included in this slide. Okay, so these are the concepts I just wanted to discuss. So I will wind up the session here. If you have any doubt, you can ask me, but make sure that you execute these programs. Don't just by heart, or don't just see the slide or just listen to the explanation. Not at all enough. You have to execute these programs. Then only you will visualize the concept, and when you get the output, you will get the idea of program flow. Okay, let me wind up here. If you have any doubt, please contact me. Thanks for watching.